The best things in life come very unexpected. I was at a wedding and Ali was there too, and this was about 4 years ago. And my mom was just telling me that there's this one girl that her friend was just telling her about, that she's for me. My mom didn't tell me who it was, and I was asking her, like, why won't you tell me? She just didn't. I saw some people playing kartoshka on the side, like after the wedding, and I was just looking, and I think I saw her, but I wasn't sure if that was her because I was just curious. My sister started to be friends with some people from Ali's church, and she told me to come and visit, and I went there a few times, and that's the first time I ever saw her, and she was the prettiest girl there.
And my sister came home and she was like, and all my aunts were messaging me and they were like, "So Ali, we found you, we found your man." And I was so disappointed. I didn't end up coming to church. My aunt ended up sending me a close-up picture of him in his youth choir, just so I would have a picture of him, at least know who my future husband is. I kind of started noticing him because he was, of course, very attractive, and I don't know. And then my church, actually, my youth organized a multi-church youth hiking trip, and so he ended up coming to that youth trip, and while we were hiking, he was at that moment he was alone, so there was no one around him, and he was always just quiet. So I decided to kind of, introduce myself, kind of like see what he's all about.
I'm a pretty shy guy. It was kind of interesting, and that's the first time I ever talked to her, and I really liked that girl.
So I came up to him and he was just quiet, and so I introduced myself, he introduced himself, and I noticed that I was actually very comfortable around him. It's very rare for me to be completely myself, completely comfortable with someone, and I don't know, I just noticed that around him I was just smiling and just laughing and just saying my jokes. He was just laughing along. It was kind of a nice change. And then after that, he just started coming more to my youth, and we started kind of hanging out. We would go on road trips together to youth conferences with our friends, and it was a lot of fun. I started really liking him. And
I was kind of shy and kind of awkward, so I didn't think she'd like me. She was just everything I ever wanted and more, and I was sure she was gonna be the one that I was gonna marry.
He was so nice to everyone all the time, and I was really attracted to that, to his kindness.
Her eyes, her cheeks, her hair, it was just the most beautiful features I've ever seen in my life.
I never really thought he liked me. We were just kind of always friends, but on my baptism, he got everybody who's getting baptized like pink roses or pink flowers, and for me he got red roses. And then my family noticed, I noticed. I kept those roses in a separate little vase. And then my family noticed, they're like, "Ali, he got everybody pink flowers except for you. He got you red roses." I'm like, I know. I was so excited about it.
There was a youth camp, and I didn't know if I should go, and I heard that Ali was going, so I was like, I was gonna go for sure.
At that camp, he actually told me that he liked me and that how he felt about me and a lot of cute things.
And I really liked this girl, and I just really wanted her to know how I feel towards her. So I was talking to her a lot at camp, and you know, I was trying to sit by her as much as I could, trying to have her on my team as much as I could. And one evening, I just couldn't help it, and I told her I needed to tell her something. It was next to this gaming area. There was like people walking through, and I told her, I said, I need to tell you something. And then there was two pastors just walk up to us, and then they just talked to us, and then that kind of interrupted what I was about to say. So I was like, maybe I shouldn't say anything. And after that, she's like, what did you want to tell me? And I told her that I really liked her. And then she just paused, and then she said, I like you too.
So we prayed about it, and there was nothing really stopping us, I guess, because 2 weeks later,
her aunt's AC stopped working, and the only person she knew that was gonna fix her AC really good was me. They called me up, and I went in there, and I met some of her family, and they didn't really know who I was. She told me that she's gonna come over and we're gonna have some tea.
I was joking. I was like, oh, I'm gonna come over for some tea right now. So he calls me and he's like, I will make it up to you. I'll take you, let's go out and eat.
Olive Garden. When I was driving to her house, she told me that her family were sitting on the front lawn. More of her aunts came over, and as soon as I heard that, I changed from my favorite t-shirt to my rubashka that was in my car. to trying to impress.
My mom actually, she made a pierożek z maką. She's like, go cut him some. So I gave him this pierożek, and he opened the door for me.
We drove to Olive Garden.
I thought he was gonna sit next to me, and he ended up sitting all the way across the table, which was so much space. I was like leaning in, trying to talk to him, and
we had a lot of fun. And when we were driving home,
I ended up asking him,
what are we? And I told her she's my girlfriend, and that's how we started dating.
I wasn't expecting a proposal. I honestly thought he would do it in 2017, maybe in the summertime, in the springtime, where, I wasn't really expecting it so soon.
So after I came home from our date, my parents knew where I was, and my mom just asked me. She's like, so when are you getting married?
My dad comes in the room and he's like, so Ali, куда ты едешь? And I'm like on a date. He's like, with who? I was like, what do you mean with who? Ruben, of course. And he's like, okay, ты за кольцом едешь?
After we were dating for a while, I decided to propose in December of 2016. I was at work, and I called her dad, and we decided to meet at Caribou, and I made sure it was close to his house so he doesn't have to schedule it for a different day. I came 15 minutes early, and I was just waiting there nervously. When he came, I started to kind of beat around the bush, and we got some coffee, and I started talking to him about cars, stuff I was comfortable talking to him about. After I got a little more courage, I told him I wanted to marry his daughter.
And then he came to pick me up, and we were driving to Cheesecake Factory. And the car ride was kind of awkward. Usually we're not like that, we're talking. We got to Cheesecake Factory, we ordered food, and Ruben's a really slow eater. That day, he just ate his food so fast. He ate it faster than me. He was waiting for me to finish, which never happens. So we left Cheesecake Factory, and he was like, oh, let's go to Calhoun. Let's go walk around at some park. I'm like, Ruben, it's so cold. I don't want to go. And he's like, okay, let's go to
Centennial Park, which is here. I knew she didn't want to go to Calhoun. That's why I brought it up first. I knew that Centennial Park was right next to Cheesecake Factory, so I just told her, do you know what is right next to Cheesecake Factory? And she's like, what? And then I sounded surprised. I just remembered what's the closest park, and there was Centennial Park right next to it.
We were walking around, and there's a gazebo. He was like, oh, let's go look inside them. I'm like, oh, okay, sure.
I just told her, wow, it looks really nice in here, because there's the lights on top.
It looked like really pretty, so we went up inside there and we just kind of like stood and like turned in a circle and we're like, like wow. And then we left and we just kept walking. It was so cold and I was like shivering, and he was walking and then he started saying like how he loves me and like it's like kind of like I was like, oh okay, I love you too. I noticed that it was like really lit up and he's like, let's go look. I'm like, Ruben, like no, there's people in there probably, you know, they're like probably doing something. And he just kept walking towards it. I'm like, Ruben, don't go in there, like why are you going in there? And I noticed that it was like there's so many candles. I was like, what is going on? So I like followed him, and then like I come in, and in the entryway he's standing on his knee and it said in rose petals and candles like, aloe vera, will you marry me? He's on his knee with the ring open and he's like, aloe vera Prokopenko, will you marry me? And I was like, yes, and I was so happy. I was like crying. I was so excited. And then all my sister and his siblings come out and they're like all congratulating us, hugging us, and we're all like crying. It was the happiest day of my life.